Let's see if a Dremel can get a card out of a PSA case for resubmission. Alright, since this cut took a minute, let's cue the opening sequence. The first thing I wanted to do here was cut off the very top of the card, and my strategy, I figured if I could cut off the top and then cut off one of the sides, then I could open it like a clamshell and pull the card out. The problem is the way the cards are sealed inside the case, you have to cut super duper close to the card to be able to open it up. So you have to be super careful and slow and methodical. And I was holding my breath basically the entire time because with a Dremel, something like that, one wrong move and then look, you slashed your card. This was a $2 card, so if we're going to experiment, it's a good thing to do it with. But you know, if you're actually trying to do this with a card that you want to resubmit, it's probably going to be a little bigger boy of a card, and then you're going to be very, very, very slow. It did cut, as you can see here in the video. It also just kind of melted the plastic. It wasn't as clean of a cut as I was anticipating. It was more of like a melt, but it did ultimately melt it enough that I could snap off the top. After that, I decided that I would rotate the card. So I had these nice little clamps that I clamped to the table. Didn't want it to move, so highly recommend doing something like that. So then I rotated it 90 degrees, and like I said, decided that I would cut off one of the sides. It doesn't really matter which side, just pick a side. Tried to peel off some of the plastic with my hands, but it was impossibly hot. It was actually like scorching hot, so don't do that. I wore safety glasses as well the entire time. There are little bits and particles flying everywhere as you take this Dremel to the card, so always try to be as safe as possible when you're doing this. I thought I'd be able to use the Dremel in like low gear and kind of make some sort of guideline, and it worked alright, but you just quickly see to actually get some kind of cut on the PSA case, you really need it in high gear, so I flipped it up a gear as soon as possible and then kind of dove in. The plastic still was just melting. It smelled so bad, I cannot overstate how bad it smelled, but you can see here the plastic's just kind of melting under the touch. It wasn't necessarily a just impossibly clean cut. It was like melting away. And again, don't touch it with your bare hands. It was scorching hot. I actually still have a mark on my hand from touching it, so be very smart there, unlike me. Hey, I'm going to interrupt while I'm cutting the side of the card real fast, ask a big favor of you. Would you do me a big favor and like this video, hit the subscribe button, and then ring that notification bell to enable notifications? It means a lot to us and will allow us to keep destroying PSA cases. I cut on the side for a very long time and finally got it all freed up. The more aggressive I was with the Dremel, the better it worked. It wasn't necessarily like the case was impossible to cut through. I think I was my biggest limiting factor. When I decided to actually go for it, I went for it and it started to work. From there, I'd cut off inside the sill, and like I said, that really does require you to cut very close to the card, but I had the sill broke on both sides and figured that would be a pretty good place to try to get the card open. I unclamped it and then just had to figure out how to get it open. Didn't realize at the time it was impossibly hot, so this is, I think, where I scarred my hand. Good stuff. But after adjusting, figuring out what I was doing, and changing my approach a little bit, I managed to get the case to kind of slide open. Now there's another way to do this, and I made another video explaining it. Basically, you just get some pliers, snap off the top right corner of your card, and then from there you kind of peel away the case until you can free the card and you pull it out. That way is significantly easier, and I think it's probably less risky too. This one you have a kind of high power drill right by the card, so I didn't love that the entire time. And I think if I was doing this with a card that mattered, I'd probably wear, gloves and go even slower than I did. And this is the abridged version. You're watching it take 4.5 minutes, and it probably took 15, but at the end, finally got the card out. It came out looking clean, no damage from the Dremel. It'd be kind of funny to resubmit it and see how it did, but basically, it worked out in the long run.